All right. Hi, everybody, and welcome to our webinar today, which is the 4 layers of parent partnership. We're going to look at hope, joy, trust, and accountability. My name is Sarina Murrell, and this is Cristina Paredes-Murrell, and we are the co-founders of the Airplane Spoon, which is a private practice in Menlo Park, California, that focuses on feeding therapy and parent coaching. So we want to talk about parents specifically and how this relates to our services as pediatric therapists. And Chris is going to talk to us about sometimes this parent-clinician disconnect.
Yes. So I think all clinicians, they're going to college, they're doing their masters and doing all of these amazing certifications. And those are focused on the child. And so you are an incredible therapist and you're doing all of these amazing things for the child. However, the child is coming with parents. And so when you want, to send, not like homework, but like you want parents to do something that it's working with you in your clinic or in the place where you're working. And you want them to carry over home and to different places. And that's not working well, right? And so there is a disconnection between what you learn in school and what is the real situation happening in your clinic. And so maybe you're gonna feel anxious, you're gonna doubt about everything that you're doing. There's gonna be tension between you and the parent, some frustration, right? And the feeling of you are responsible for this child, but you are not the only one supporting this child. And so that is the disconnection that we see, right? It's not about your personality. It's not even about your clinical knowledge, because you have all of that in, and I'm pretty sure most everyone actually is doing all of this new knowledge now that we have free information all the time. You can access all of these different things, but everything is going to focus on the child or the client. And so now what we wanted to talk about is that it's not just counseling skills that you need for talking to parents and families. It's more than that, right? It's about your philosophy. It's about the values that you have. It's about all of the things that go beyond of what you learned when you went to school. And so that is why we are talking about the alignment that you have, you as a human being. What are my values? Sometimes we see families doing something that goes against of not only what we are not supposed to do as a clinician, right? Like forcing kids, for instance, to eat food, or like trying to pressure the child, right? That goes against the philosophy as a clinician, but maybe it's also going against your own philosophy, your own values, right? And so how do you put those boundaries from the beginning? How do you establish that connection with families without feeling all of that anxiety, without feeling that maybe you're crossing lines, or maybe you are making the parent feel insecure of what they're doing? How do we do that? And so that's why we talk about the 4 layers of parent partnership. But do you want to add anything to this conversation?
Yeah, I know you were talking about this and how it affects us, not just in that session or during that interaction with the parent, but also kind of the pre and post. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, and so my experience here at the Airplane Spoon, I was in charge of the clinicians and doing all of this coaching for them. And so what was very interesting, it was learning about how sometimes one family can make a huge difference in not just that session. And so the clinicians talk about, hey, I know I'm going to have this family and I don't feel comfortable with this family. And they're not even talking about the child. They're talking about parents. And how the day before, they were already feeling, oh my gosh, tomorrow I have this family. And so it's the entire day thinking about that. So now clinicians are not really focused on all these families. How many families do you have? They're not getting the best from you because you're putting all of that effort into this particular family. And then you get to that day. And it was fascinating for me because we talk about, when is this family, what time, what session? Is it the first session? Is it the last session? Is it in the middle? It doesn't really matter. It's like the day before, the day the session, and the day after.
Yeah.
Because it comes with guilty also. Did I do it right?
Ruminating. Yeah.
And so it's a lot more complex, because when you are in front of a family, when they ask questions, when then you're not aligned, with family, with the clinic, or the place where you are working, then it gets a lot more challenging for everybody. Maybe even parents also feel that from you.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing I know that we talk about a lot is boundaries, and we can set up boundaries with children. And it seems like sometimes a little bit more natural or easier to set up boundaries with children because it's learning the rules, right? And
we are the adults and we are in charge of kids. How do you set up a boundary for a parent? And my example when I do parent coaching is that, okay, if I get frustrated, let's say with my sister, I can't say, now you're grounded. I can't say that, like, what is the consequence of like crossing boundaries? What is the action that I'm going to take to protect myself for something that is making me feel uncomfortable? But with boundaries comes, it's a lot bigger than that, right? It's the explanation before things happen. Now with kids and parents, right? They learn about this while the child is growing.
And then kids are supposed to test boundaries. Kids are supposed to push boundaries all the time. That's their job.
That's their job. Yes, that's their job. And our job is to put those boundaries with love and respect and compassion. And it's the same thing with adults. Now, how do we do that?
Right.
How do we do it?
Well, and we all have a different history or upbringing of what kind of boundaries we saw modeled or observed in our households, and how we then carry that over as adults. Do we think about that consciously? Have we done our own kind of personal work in that? Or is that an area that personally we also struggle with? And so it's going to affect us professionally as well.
Yes, that's right. And so that is why we are going to talk about how, what are the 4 layers of parent partnership that we are implementing in all of the sessions that we provide here.
So parent partnership, we want to offer this idea in our 4 layers as something kind of different than maybe what you've heard before. It is not about how to give homework so that parents do the homework. It's not about how to explain the information, and it's definitely not about how to tell parents what to do. The reason why about this is that we're trying to think about collaboration. And if you think about working together, think about like a colleague, somebody that you're working with, and they're just saying, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. That's not collaborative. That's not a partnership. And we don't really like to be told what to do as adults or as humans. Kids don't like to be told what to do all the time either. And so instead of thinking about what are the steps of, this is how I have to say that, this is how I have to do this, this is what they need to do in order for this to work, we want to bring it back to the relationship and to think about the partnership of, we're working together in this. We have such a small role in this child's life and a small window as well. If you see this child maybe once or twice a week for an hour or half an hour, then that is a valuable time. But all of the rest of the time that they're not with us, we know that that's the opportunity for parents and families, caregivers to carry over a lot of these skills. But just like Chris said, we're not the only people that are involved in their lives. If they have other therapies, school, other activities, and then family members and friends and doctors, and everybody's kind of throwing all these ideas at them, how much can they hold? So we want to bring it to these 4 layers that we have created as our parent partnership framework around hope, joy, trust, and accountability. And these might not have been concepts that you've heard before in terms of parent partnership or parent collaboration. So we want to share it with you and explain the why of why we feel these are the essential aspects of creating successful parent relationships, so that we're thinking of the whole child, the whole family, and that future lifelong progress.
Yeah. So hope, what is hope? In simple words, hope is the steps, the actionable steps that you're going to give to this family, right? So the dream of a better future with action. And so, yes, it is bigger than what they probably can do. And we are going to provide that hope with the steps. And those steps have to show evidence for them to keep believing in that this is possible. And so I think it's the combination of everything. And now when we learn about families and when we learn about their backgrounds, we talk about this in our last webinar, the unseen client. It's like parents are coming with different ideas, with different backgrounds. And so we have to respect all of that, and we have to somehow implement that also. So then we can create a better future for their kids. So yes, hope is everything with actionable steps. And so do you want to talk about an experience of a child?
Yeah.
So then it's more understanding how we do that.
Oh, it's kind of covering. This is my reminder to help me. So with hope, an example that I have, I'm thinking about a family that I support. And this is a child who's not really a child anymore. She's kind of a young adult. I think she's 19. She's 19 years old. She's almost 20. And her family moved from Korea in 2019. I mean, what a time to move, first of all. But they moved. So she was about 14 years old. They moved for her. And this is something that is really powerful to think about. They uprooted everything. They left their country, they left their language, they left their traditions, their family support, even their jobs, to move here to the United States to get support for their daughter. She has cerebral palsy, she's non-speaking, and she has much greater needs in terms of her support and her disability. And so they came here with a lot of hope, right? They were taking the action to move here to get that. And what they were faced with was COVID. First of all, this was a world pandemic. So there's not much we could do about that. And of course, that affected her situation of, this isn't going how it's expected. It's all virtual. She didn't know English. They didn't know English moving here. But then when school came back in session and she's going back to school, it wasn't as they expected. And this is the thing about hope. For us to have hope, we need to have evidence that it's matching our expectations or above and beyond our expectations. But if it's subpar, it's below our expectations, or it's even in some ways like harmful, then that's going to create a lot of hopelessness. And hopelessness for parents is despair. Right? They are coming from a place, nobody wants their child to be in therapy, and we need to recognize that as well. We don't wish for our child to need speech therapy, occupational therapy. Yay, my child's in physical therapy. That's not a desire of parents. So we need to recognize that they're already coming from a point of like a little bit of loss of their dreams or their hopes for their child. Now we can help to plant that seed of hope. And so to validate, to give them this, presumed competence, and to give our best to show that we see this child. And so with this person, she spoke Korean, but she's dysarthric because she has very slow, slurred speech, if you're not a speech pathologist, because she has cerebral palsy. And so she starts to learn English, and at school they're saying she's not speaking. They're saying it's just mumble, it's just sounds. And her mom is thinking, am I crazy? Am I crazy? Does she not speak? And so, and I could hear it, right? In Korean, the word for mother is oma. And so she'd be like, oma. I'm like, that's mom. You can hear it. Or she'd go to the door and she'd go, open. I'm like, that's open. You can hear it. And so she just needed to feel justified that she did see that her daughter has these abilities and skills. And that gave her hope back. That gave her this idea that she can learn, that she can do it, because parents are always told what their child can't do. Think about our reports. Think about our evaluations. It's like they can't, they can't, they can't, they can't, they can't. And this is what they hear in IEP meetings, at the doctor's offices. I mean, I have a family of a child that is 13 years old, and she told the doctor, don't give me those well child checklists. She just said, I don't want to do them. Her daughter has seizure disorder. She doesn't walk. She doesn't talk. She has a feeding tube. She's not going to do most of those things on that list because she has severe disability. And her mom, because it was so hopeless, every single time she had to fill out these checklists, she just took her power and she said, nope, I'm not going to fill those out. Which I think is awesome that she could do that for herself, to protect that, because we want to give parents hope. What can be our role in that? That we can be a provider of that, as opposed to feeding more of that hopelessness that they have. They already have enough of that.
Yeah. And so with that, I think that our next pillar is joy. And joy is so important for all of us. We human beings, we have a lot of different things in our life, and joy is one that, when we show in our sessions, really helps parents to see their child in a different way, right? So what we do is we're going to see this child that is coming with so many challenges, and maybe the parent cannot see what we can see. So it's like in our expertise to see that something else. Enjoy the child. You know, when we enjoy the child, then parents have a different perspective, right? Is that what you're saying before? The hope that they have comes right away. If I see like, oh, I hear you saying this, right? Oh, that's amazing that you are now eating this, or that you can touch that, right? Like talking about the things that they can do really increase that perspective to parents. And maybe we are even giving that, and I think we hear that many times, like the space for them to relax their shoulders, to breathe, and to actually see their kids in a different way, right? Now, this has to be authentic. This is not fake it until it comes natural to you. No, when we treat our clients like human beings, not as one, a different person that is coming, is another number in our list, then everything changes. And so I think we have an example about how we did this, how we changed the perspective to a family.
Yeah. Okay, so this example is hair. This is my reminder. Why? This is a little boy. He also has pretty complex needs. He has cerebral palsy. He's blind. He doesn't talk. He doesn't walk. He eats food. He can't drink. He has a tube for liquids. But he drools a lot because he doesn't manage his saliva. He has a swallowing disorder. And so when I went to his home for his evaluation, and I'm meeting with his parents to meet him, I get on the floor, I go to see him, I start singing, and he is very exploratory with his feet and his hands. So he puts his feet up and he wants to use his feet on your face and everything, and his hands, he goes into your hair. And he loves hair. He just wants to feel hair. He's blind too, remember? So he has different sensory needs and exploration. And so I'm on the floor and he's crawling up on me and he's putting his feet on me, and the parents are like, oh, no. I'm like, it's fine. He's just learning me. He's just having fun. And then he puts his hands in my hair and he's kind of like propping up. He can kind of stand a little bit. So he's standing up, and then I'm just like, "Ah, rah, rah, rah," and I'm trying to like eat him. And then he's giggling and he's laughing, and I can just see the shift in the parents. And Chris and I have done parent coaching training, and so we're also kind of keyed in to like point out shifts. And so I was like, oh, what just changed for you there? I called it out on them. And the dad, he was caught off guard, and he said, you're enjoying my child. You're not scared of my child. You don't care that he's drooly, because they had so many experiences.
And all of this came later, right?
Yeah, and you know, they had so many experiences of, like that's different, that's weird, oh, he's drooly, that's gross, or just distant.
Actually, many therapists quit on this kid.
And that's true too. You know, I learned he had some home ABA therapists, and that they didn't like want him climbing on them, and they had all this like, no, I can't do it. One of them walked out in the middle of the session. I mean, they had their own experiences, which were really hard. But I got closer and closer, and when I was hiring, I really much trusted this family. I asked the dad, I said, you know, what do you think I should look for in a clinician when I'm hiring? And I love to get that feedback from parents. And he said these exact words. Or how do you know when you trust a clinician? I asked him. He said, if they enjoy my child, I'll trust them. And so that made it so powerful for me that we integrated that into our company and in our hiring and our onboarding process of like, your first interaction when you do an evaluation, the main purpose is enjoy the child in front of the family. And that's going to be so powerful. It's not about establishing yourself as this expert. It's about connecting.
Yes.
And what that builds
Trust.
is trust.
And you know, when I talked before about this, you are going to all of these trainings. You are very knowledgeable about the kid. But trust is something that we don't learn in these trainings, right? What it means to trust. And so the first thing is that you're gonna trust yourself, right? Because you have all of those clinical knowledge. You attend a lot of different webinars, and I mean, you do all of these incredible things because you want to learn the new thing. That's true. So yes, we need you to trust yourself, right? You need to show that confidence that you have in like, this is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to do it, and all of that. But the other thing is that parents have to, with the building of joy and hope, they also need to trust you. So it's different when we see therapists that, yeah, they know what they're doing, but they have this is my client, and this is how I'm going to do it, and I am not going to get input from anybody because I am the one that has this expertise.
Oh, let's ask. Okay. All right, this is our favorite question. What is the opposite of trust? In all of our research in developing this and learning about these human concepts, we found that the opposite of trust is control. And this one was just like, it blew my mind when I found this out. Why? Because the more we try to control, the less we trust. If we're trying to control what children do and how we do our things, and we're like, parents, we don't want you in here, we don't trust. We don't trust that it's going to go in the way we want it, right? Because we're trying to control.
Yeah. And trust, like I said before, right? We need parents need to see that you know what you're doing, right? You're confident, and you work with other children. So this is important. Many parents, they ask, but do you have experience with this? And
they think their kid is the only one.
It happens all the time. They think that they are the only ones experiencing this, right? So for you to say, yes, you know, I have worked, you know, with these clients, and you give a story. Story is so important in this. Not just to say like, I have knowledge of this and that and that and that and that, but give a story of the child that you have worked. And also, I'm going to add to this, also give the challenges.
Yeah.
Because they want to hear that they are not the only ones that have challenges. So if you have like one or two examples of the challenges, then you can build upon that and get into like, and then after this many sessions, then we start seeing, right? Because also it's important that they know that it is challenging. It was challenging for this family. It's going at the same time that it's challenging for them. So it's going to take some time because we are building trust with parents, we're building trust with kids, right? We are doing all of these incredible things. We're paying attention so much of the things that maybe we're not paying attention in the past. But you have to know what you're doing, and you have to talk about what you're doing, right? So it's like a little bit like bragging about yourself. At the same time, you have humility on the things that you're doing. So then you are talking like human beings. All right.
Okay, so my example. This actually happened just like a month ago. It was a family that had a consultation. Their baby was having a lot of feeding challenges. And so she got all these diagnoses. They saw an ENT and he had all of these things. So she had all these technical terms. And so she wanted to make sure that the therapist that they're seeing is familiar and confident with all of this, because I'm sure it felt like it was very just complex and involved. And so, and specifically it was about laryngomalacia, which is that weakness, the floppiness in the throat tissues and how that's affecting the swallowing. And so she asked, I need to know, does the therapist have confidence in this or has experience in this? So
the first step was yes, and explaining Sarina has worked in this and that and that and that and that. Okay, that is like the first step. But then when she came here, it was like to really show that you have experience.
Right. So the number one trick we say is like to start off a conversation with parents, especially in the initial evaluation, initial meeting, is reference what they already talked about in their consult call or in the intake forms. Especially if somebody else is doing like the intake call or you just get the forms, you come in and you say, thank you so much for, providing all this information and for filling out this forms. I saw that you said that your child has this and this and this, and you say it. You say it back to them, and these are all areas that we work with all the time. I feel very confident supporting these areas. I'm going to ask some more questions about them. Why? Our biggest pet peeve, you go to the doctor, even if you have like a sore throat, let's say, you talk to the nurse and you explain all of the issue, and then she types it all out. And then the doctor comes in and then she's like, what's going on? You're like, did you not read the note?
No, they didn't.
No, you didn't read the note. But if the doctor's like, okay, I talked to the nurse, so she said that you've had a sore throat for about a week now. Now, you are paying attention to me. I can trust you. It's not this big giant thing. There's just little things that we can do. It can build trust.
Yeah. And this is my favorite one, accountability, because in everything that we are doing, it's in 1 hour, right?
Or less.
And that is not going to be enough for this child to get, or for parents and even for the therapists, the clinicians, to see progress. So by building hope, joy, and trust, then we're gonna be able to ask parents to help us moving this to different places. They have more opportunities to implement what their kids are learning with you at home, at school, when they're going visiting family. But all of this has to be with communication, clarity, constructed consistency. And so for me, it's really, really important that when you are communicating with parents, they know exactly what you mean. Sometimes I hear clinicians give a very long explanation that is super technical, and then they're like, you get it. Sure. What do we do? And
do you have any questions? And they're just not going to say
no. I'm not going to have any questions because we are human beings. And most of us don't like to say that we don't understand things, right? Like you really have to train yourself to get into I don't understand. Can you explain again? But so clarity, using terms that everybody can understand, it's going to help them to also tell you more things about what they are going to implement. And then what you do that is beautiful is that you ask parents, what is something that stood out and then you would like to implement? So it comes from them. And with all of the new families that we have, I'm calling them new, but like younger families, how is that they need that communication? Is it email? Maybe not. Is it text? Maybe, right? Is it a video? Like, what is that they need? A printed document. That is really important. So then you know what type of communication they need. And we have to be consistent.
Right.
If when they come next time, you said like, so how was the...
did you work on this?
Did you work on this? And they're like, oh, no, I didn't know. You're like, don't worry. It's okay. No. It actually, you are the accountability part here. So it's not okay. Tell me what was hard about this, like why you didn't implement it. How can we tweak it? Consistency builds all of this. So the example.
Yeah. Okay. So this example, it's actually both. So every child that we support at the Airplane Spoon also gets added parent coaching. And so I went to go see a home visit for a child, and I go there and they're like, oh, we just had to tell you, you need to tell Chris, because she had a parent coaching session with them the week before, and their homework, and they had said what they had missed was snuggling. And so Chris was like, your homework is you need to have a 5-minute snuggling time. Because they had twins, and they're both medically complex, and so they're just busy all the time with it. They kind of divide and conquer. So they just miss snuggling. And so I had gone, but the night before, or the day before, Chris had sent a reminder email, and she's like, I'm going to check in with you next week. Remember, your homework is you need to snuggle. And she'd emailed it, and she's like, because she emailed it, we're like, let's do it. And then they did it. And I just love that example, because it can be something very simple. You can do a schedule send, it can take 10 seconds to really just be like, hey, here's your reminder. If that's what they need, if we ask them about it and that's what they need, you had asked them, you're like, I need you to do this homework. How do you want me to help you? Do you want me to send you an email reminder? And they said yes. And so accountability, everyone can be very different in that, but how do we make sure that something happens? Just from a reminder, we're much more likely to do it. Okay, so as a wrap up, remember, having really positive parent partnership, it's not about your clinical skills. You can be an excellent clinician and not really know how to collaborate with parents effectively. It's not about your clinical skills. It's about human relationship. Relationships are reciprocal. If you feel good, they feel good. If they feel good, you feel good. If you feel nervous, they feel nervous. I always talk about the acupuncturist, right? Let's say you have to go to acupuncture, you've never done it before, and you go in and the acupuncturist is like, okay, well, we're gonna do this, okay? I'm just gonna try a little bit, it's okay. I do not feel confident with that because I am nervous, and then you're nervous, and that makes me more nervous. So human relationship is about this reciprocity, and how we can think about this in a different way is about this partnership of hope, joy, trust, and accountability. That's what we have for you today. If you are in the greater California or Bay Area and want to learn more about this, we're offering 1-day workshops about this whole parent partnership, really diving into this framework of our 4 layers. We're doing it the last Saturday of the month in March, April, and May. So the next one, March 28th. And this is in the Airplane Spoon in Menlo Park, California. It's a full day in-person workshop so that we can have those conversations, we can practice these strategies, and really build that relationship with each other, and to have that practice if you're interested. But that's been everything for today. Thank you everybody so much for joining, and we'll see you next time on a new workshop. Bye.